Greetings, Space Cats! If you've always hankered after making your book, the cost of it might have put you off. I am here to give you my real life experience of how much it costs to make a book. My name is Jules and I make videos on drawing, planning and publishing every week. And as lots of you have made requests on videos on publishing, I'm slowly making my way through a really long list. I've been writing and illustrating stories since 1995, but I've been published in the last decade. And much of it I've had to figure out myself because they simply weren't teaching this kind of stuff when I was at uni. I'm in the business of passing that knowledge on to you because I believe everyone has a story. If you want more in-depth understanding, you can join my course where I discuss a whole range of subjects and things that you'll really need to know about and get to grips with before you send your work off to a publisher or decide to self-publish. Grab yourself a pen and paper and let's find out how much it costs to make a book. If you've decided to self-publish, then there are two main ways to tackle this, and I've called them the I've got no budget category and the I've got a bit of budget one. And this is either using a print-on-demand service or print a short run of books and keep some physical copies for yourself at home or somewhere that you can distribute yourself. When I first started, I used a print-on-demand service only, and that was for my book Vincent and the Vampires. Vincent is a 32-page full-colour picture book, and it measures 216mm by 216mm square, and that's about 8.5 inches. The print-on-demand service is a really inexpensive way of doing it, and really the majority of the cost is your time. It was quite a long time ago when I produced Vincent and the Vampires, and I was freelancing as a graphic designer as well at the time. So I reckon I was spending about 10 hours a week maybe working on it. That was working on the illustrations, the layouts, the design work, and trying to figure out how exactly I was going to go about publishing it. It wasn't the text, I'd already done the text prior to that. It took me around about 6 months to complete, so I reckon that was approximately 260 hours worth of work. If I was employing someone to do this for me, then that's already saved me over £2,500. I used a company called Create Space, and they are now run by KDP. They're part of Amazon, but there are loads of other companies that do exactly the same thing. Please don't think for a moment that you have to use KDP and Amazon. There are pros and cons to this approach, but it's a pretty good way to make a start. With KDP, you upload your manuscript and your covers separately, and you can get one of their free ISBNs. That's the barcode you get, the International Standard Book Number, and you need that for cataloguing your book. All of that is free. However, if you do use one of their ISBNs, it does mean that you can't sell your book on other platforms, like for example, you can't sell through waterstones.com or Barnes & Noble. They just want you to sell on Amazon. Of course, you don't have to have one of their free ISBNs. You can buy an ISBN and own that yourself, and then you can put it anywhere you like. Currently in the UK, one ISBN will cost you £89, or 10 will cost you £164, so you can see it's much more cost effective to buy 10. That only costs you £6.40 per ISBN. However, if you haven't got the funds for doing that, go for one of their free ones. Once you've uploaded your manuscript and your covers properly, then you can order a proof copy. My proof copy of Vincent and the Vampires cost me £2.65 plus shipping. Now, back in those days, this was back in 2012, everything was printed in the States and then it was shipped over. So the shipping for that was pretty expensive. And to memory, I think it cost me around about £8 to £10. These days, KDP are pretty much worldwide, and you can order it much closer to your home country or even in your home country. So for example, now when I order proof copies, they are actually printed in the UK and sent to me. It's much cheaper. My latest proof copy cost me around about £5. That was the printing and the postage. The proof copy comes with a ribbon across the front of the book that says not for resale, because they don't want you to go and buy loads of proof copies and then flog them to all your mates, making yourself a massive profit, and then poor old Amazon get nothing. Once you have accepted the proof and you've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb and made sure there are no mistakes in it and there's no additional things you need to add, you've pressed the Publish My Book button, then you can order your author copies. The author copies will cost a little bit more than the proof, but still much less than others will be able to buy your book for on Amazon. That's if you've decided to sell directly through Amazon. You don't have to. Someone buying your book on Amazon might have to pay £6 or £7 for it, whereas you'll only have to pay around about £3 to £4. It just means that you aren't getting any commission for the books that you are buying yourself. And don't forget that you will need to pay some shipping costs for the books that you have ordered for yourself. But you can buy as many as you want. You could buy 2, you could buy 50. Although it's a great way to start out, you might want a bit more control over your print run. When you use a print-on-demand service, you quite often don't really have any control over the paper. When I ordered my first ones from CreateSpace, the paper did feel a bit thin and it wasn't quite as smooth and professional as I would have liked. You might also want to use your own ISBN so that you can distribute it anywhere. And often the service will leave one of their company icons, or in my case, printed in Poland by Amazon on one of the end pages. If this bothers you, then you might decide to have a short run of books. And by that I mean having 50 or more copies printed. But don't be tempted to ask a print company that's not used to printing books, because it really does make a difference. You could end up with something really poor quality and very disappointing, and even with staples in the middle. Make sure you get a proof, and if it's not right, change it or challenge the print company to make it better quality. After my first CreateSpace run of books sold out, I bought 300 copies from a company in Exeter, UK, which incidentally had been recommended to me by my local bookshop manager. The cost in 2013 was £857, but that included postage, and it worked out to £2.86 per copy. And they retail for £6, so that gives me £3.14 to cover other expenses that I had incurred during my run up to getting that produced, and of course a little bit of profit. The best thing about doing it this way though was the quality of it. It was so different. They were printed on 120 GSM, that's grams per square metre, paper, and it was smooth paper. It felt really nice. The covers were quite thick at 240 grams per square metre, and they were perfect bound, and that means that it was glued into the cover properly, like a book that you would find in a bookshop, not stapled down the middle. Don't let them staple your books. Looking back at my quote for this, 100 copies would have been £449, thus making one copy £4.49. So you can see there's quite a big difference in the profit margin. If you've got the budget to buy more books and think that you'll be able to sell them, then go for it, because it makes them much cheaper per individual copy. That makes you have a little bit more profit. You might be wondering how to go about pricing your book. Well, the easiest way to do it is to go into a bookshop and see if you can find something that is a bit like yours. You need to be looking for how many pages the book has, whether or not it's full colour all the way through, or maybe it's just got a full colour front and back cover and black and white illustrations inside. You also need to be looking at the physical size of the book. Plus, don't forget that really self-publishers can't produce hardback copies because they are much more expensive to produce, and you probably won't really ever get your money back on them. In the UK, an average cost for a 32-page picture book is between £7 and £8. So if your printing costs means that you're going to retail your book at a lot higher than that, then you need to find a different way to produce them, or a different company to produce them, because you're probably going to find it quite tricky to sell them. So to recap, the costs for my first book were around about £3.90 for the print-on-demand service and £2.86 for my first run of 300 books. Through KDP you can upload your manuscript and your covers to Amazon, and so other people can buy it, and that, if you don't buy any copies, will cost you nothing. If it's something that you've always wanted to do, but you've thought maybe it's going to be too expensive, hopefully I've put your mind at rest a little bit. There really is a way to produce your story on a budget and get your book journey started. All you have to do is figure out the other stuff, and my course can help you with that. Next week we are starting an autumn project, and if you're wondering what that means, then you better subscribe and ding the bell. I'm off to run through a wheat field like Theresa May. I'll see you next time. Nanu nanu!